So Chad, I read this one, right? That Los Ratones is the proof that franchises to go bring back relegations and promotion in the LEC. I also saw something similar on Reddit, I believe. Somebody yapping, franchise needs to go. Overall, I agree. I think we should have guest slots the way NA does it. Partially though, I feel like, so there's like different takes about franchising, right? First of all, franchising is amazing for job security. And now I know you might be like, haha, job security, so you can be a fraud and you can stay in the LEC. Yeah, but pro players are giving up their education, right? And it has to be low-key worth it. And if you become a pro player and you don't even know if you can continue in doing pro play, but let's say you drop school for it, and then in 1 year you can't be a pro player anymore because you got relegated, that is pretty dangerous, right? That is like the risk-reward is very tricky. Also, I feel like partially people really care about the Los Ratones story, but not necessarily would be driven as much by a different team in the IRL. I know that's what it builds, right? So the story starts in the IRL, you have a strong team that wins EU Masters, and then they can actually have a chance to compete against the bottom 2 LEC teams. And then if they do win that one, they can qualify to LEC possibly, and they can, you know, show up there. And I think that would be amazing, and I think having 1 or 2 franchising slots, you know, would be possible. But would people really care about it as much if it wasn't LR? And I also feel like people really, really, really love LR for the personalities that the team has and the person who is behind them, which is Kadral, right? They have Baus, they have Velia, they have Nemesis, they have Crowny, they have Reckless, and then they have Kadral. So I feel like their story is just so, it's just like so cool to see, but it's also because who they are, not just because they are a team that won 2 times EU Masters. Because I'm gonna be honest, besides KC who won EU Masters in the past, and besides Los Ratones who won EU Masters in the past, I have no clue about any other team that ever won EU Masters. And that could be because we didn't have franchise. We do have franchising, and maybe because these teams couldn't like show up against the LEC teams, possibly. But that could also be because, you know, nobody really, not many people care the same way as they do against LR. The problem with franchise is that people already invested a shit ton of money to buy a spot. Yeah, I feel like that's partially one of the problems. I think Riot would have to literally buy a slot out from one of the teams. Hypothetically speaking, what if one of the teams sell a slot to Riot like they did in LCS? And then we have at least 1 slot for a guest slot where we can get different team competing, like a winner of EU Masters every year or every half a year. I'm not really sure like what is a good way to do it. I feel like there's a lot of people that are following Los Ratones right now. And you know, their games are probably the most watched games this split so far. From what I read, they are not the most watched games compared to last year. I think last year the viewership was a little bit higher than it is this year overall. But still, job security is bullshit. You shouldn't be safe if you do your job bad. Isn't it good in German because you give IRL players experience in tier 1 tournaments? Maybe don't force those teams to play on stage. You don't have an issue with education as well. No, I mean, I think job security in that matter is, I think for new players to have opportunity to show themselves the way KCB is showing themselves right now. Maybe KCB is a better example because they are, you know, least popular. I feel like at least Yukino and Hazel showed a lot of promise and potential, right? So if every split or every half a year we had a relegation where either players can show themselves against LEC teams, it could be fun to watch. They could actually be able to like prove themselves, right? I mean, that's how I got my job, chat. I got my job because we had relegation back in the day, right? I qualified to LEC with a Polish team back in 2014, at the end of 2013, so, you know, 50 years ago. And we won against Ninjas in Pyjamas, maybe. I don't actually remember who we played against. It's too long ago. So that's how I landed my job. And there was no job security back then, so I had to risk it all, leave school, and kind of just, you know, flip it. Flip it completely. Playstyle is stale because there's few teams. Okay, I think playstyle is very stale because we have BO1s. I think BO1s have to go. And we already knew BO1s have to go last year, and we came back to BO1s this year. It's absolute disaster. I know it's because we have 12 teams, and the logic is there is not enough time. But then either you need to make the split longer or you have to figure out a way of like 1 more day or something. I don't know how much it's gonna cost, but I'm just saying that like teams are not taking any risks and everybody is playing full scale in comps, because if you lose a game, essentially you might risk not making it to playoffs and you'd have to be a top 8 team out of 12 teams. It's bad. But this is the last split of BO1s. We will never see BO1s anymore, ever. Like ever, I believe, in the LEC. Just look like LPL, they played the whole week. Yeah, but I think, I mean, as for LPL, they used to be the richest region for a while. I don't think they are anymore, though. I don't think the investment in LPL is as big as it used to be. If Kedra wants to join LEC, he should buy a spot. If KC can do it, Los Ratones can do it too. I think that should be possible for Kedral to buy a spot, but I don't know if Kedral has this. Okay, I know the guy is mega rich, right? Like he for sure is mega rich, but like, I'm sorry, but it's like not really worth it, no? If I had $10 million, I wouldn't spend it to buy a LEC slot. I would just like have it in my bank. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense, bro. Like, why would he buy a slot for 10 mil? I mean, if he finds a sponsor that wants to pay 10 mil for a slot, I think that's brilliant. But bro, like 10 mil to play in the LEC, I mean, it's amazing from like the org POV, like maybe like the less famous orgs as well. But for Los Ratones, I don't think it's worth it for them. And I don't even think it's 10 mil at this point. I know it should be 10 mil. 10 mil to lose to Korea and China. Okay, that's a doomer mindset. That is a doomer mindset. You pay for the slot because you believe you can create a team that is going to compete against everybody, okay? You don't buy in and be like, oh, I'm paying 10 mil just to go to Worlds and get clapped by Faker. I love getting clapped by Faker. I'm only buying in so I can get clapped harder. It is possible for Los Ratones to compete at Worlds, but the road is insane, okay? They have to win LEC, Winter Split, then they have to win First Tournament. Because of that, they'll get invited to MSI. Then they have to win MSI. Because of that, they have to, you know, get invited to Worlds, and then they win Worlds. I mean, well. So that would be an absolute cinema storyline, but it's possible. Still possible. The LEC needs Los Ratones more than Los Ratones need the LEC. If the LEC doesn't take action, we'll end up with LCS. Okay, I disagree with that. I think Los Ratones need LEC as much as LEC needs Los Ratones. I think it's not a parasite thing. I think, do you believe that people would still tune in to Los Ratones games if they're winning EU Masters for the 20th time while playing against, you know, teams that are much worse? I think partially why Los Ratones are, you know, like, the storyline continues to develop. The storyline continues to develop, and the storyline continues to be really good because they are having a bigger and a bigger challenge every single year and every split. In their own hands, and you know, they keep pushing themselves, and that's why it's so entertaining, and that's why, you know, like people follow Los Ratones because of the names and because of the story, right? Because of Baus, because of Keidral, Reckless, Nemesis, Velia, Crowny, as much as because of the story that they are making all together. So first of all, I think Los Ratones as a story is only so magical because of these 6 individuals working together. But so, you know, if one of them drops, I think they lose part of their charm. I think, you know, let's say Baus is not part of Los Ratones. I feel like even though Los Ratones will still stay very popular, it's not going to be the same without the Baus. You know, like the Baus is a big personality in their team that like makes the team same as any other player in the team and K-Rolls. And then on top of that, you are saying LEC needs Los Ratones. You know, last year LEC was watched more than this year. I still think that's like a shitty argument because I think just like viewership is less, and without Los Ratones I think viewership would potentially be even less than it is right now. So I do think Los Ratones are absolutely vital and amazing for the league, but I still think that Los Ratones gain more fans and can show up bigger and can show up better because they get to play in LEC.